All right, good evening. Thank you for being here, to our students here and any online folks who chose to join us tonight for our live stream. This is a little unusual. The Turning Point is actually live streaming. We normally would be live streaming at 7 o'clock tonight. That event was canceled, so we decided to go ahead and stream this event. And we know that it's got a lot of value to adults and students. So we're really glad to have everybody. And thank you, Dan, for setting this up and for being here tonight to make that happen. So I'm been really excited to bring in again my friend Donna Murphy. She did visit EmpowerU last semester and talked about her ministry, her and her husband's ministry, Jim. They run Heaven's Gate Ministry that's on the west side. It has a new address and a new location. I'll let her tell you about that. They provide care to parents and families who've experienced perinatal loss at any gestation. It's really important work, beautiful work. And Donna has always been a strong pro-life voice in Cincinnati, and had gone to high schools and taught students probably before and when she had some of her younger kids before she started the ministry. She's an expert. She's been trained in debate by very renowned debaters, very, very good at this. Through her pro-life ministry work and that training, Donna is a dynamic speaker, and she's an outstanding apologist for human life, which we will be stressing tonight. But I also want to make sure the students know that this isn't just about life. We would be learning skills that you can apply really to any of your worldview, any values that you hold dear in your worldview. And we're going to be challenged and you need to be ready. So that's what we want. We definitely want you to defend human life, but there are plenty of other issues out there that Charlie Kirk was defending, and we want you to learn that too and keep that in mind. I have a papers for you with some points about other issues that Charlie Kirk was defending out there. And I will let you walk home with that, and you need to be reading that and paying attention, and you apply the skills that Donna teaches. Okay, so Donna is offered to engage Turning Point tonight to coach you and any adult on how and what to say when challenged by those who disagree with our worldview, particularly when it comes to life. Donna currently serves as executive director of Heaven's Gate Ministries, a local organization. Like I said, it provides support for families experiencing pregnancy loss, including the physical, emotional, and spiritual needs of families who are experiencing pregnancy loss before, during, and after delivering a baby. Donna is an advocate for parents of perinatal loss, and that's a program, and she's also an instructor in this training. Is available for speaking and training regarding pregnancy loss. Very busy lady. They just moved their facility to a new location, and tonight we are so lucky to have her, and she is very lucky to discuss with us too. What do you think? And Donna, if you would feel free to discuss Heaven's Gate when we're done with this. Feel free to give them. I will tell you this: Heaven's Gate Ministries, from miscarriage to stillbirth, okay, and anywhere in between, this organization can help, and they provide a lot of services that are very helpful to help families move forward in a healthy way. Okay, and that may seem far-fetched to our young students right now, but you will be touched by that. For pregnancy loss, I guarantee it. Whether it's you, your sister, your brother, family members, friends, trust me, it's really good to know that Donna and Jim are out there running this ministry. It's very, very important. I welcome Donna Murphy to work her magic here. Thank you.
So we're going to start the debate in a couple minutes, but I'm going to just give you some basics on the pro-life laws in our nation. Okay, so the legalization of abortion happened in 1973 nationwide. Prior to 1973, every state made their own abortion law. Some had it legal, some had it illegal. But Roe v. Wade in 1973 forced all 50 states to have abortion legal in the first trimester for absolutely any reason. In the second trimester, there could be some limitations. In the third trimester, it was only for life or health of the mom. Now, life or health of the mom sounds absolutely reasonable, right? But with the sister decision of Doe versus Bolton, it defined health of the mother to include physical, emotional, psychological, familial, and the woman's age. So if she says, I'm 30 years old, but I really didn't want to have a baby at this age, that's a health reason, okay? If she says, you know, I didn't want to have any kids in my life, that's a health reason. So because of the Doe versus Bolton decision that went along with the Roe versus Wade decision, abortion was legal all 9 months in our country. The decision that has reversed that is the Dobbs, I think, Dobbs decision, what happens. So, since 1973, 3,500 million, 4,500,000 babies are killed daily, it's actually over 63 million now. And, before I go to this picture of a baby, I wanted to say, that we are going to debate here, right? And so I'm gonna talk to you about how I do this. I spoke in all Catholic high schools except for Ursuline in Cincinnati, and I would do 30 in a class, and I would do 8 classes in a row, and I would do this once a week. And I would go around and talk about the baby development in the womb. And then there would be people who didn't agree with me, and they would challenge me. And so I had to learn, as you should learn, that even if my heart is racing and I feel like I'm going to have a heart attack, that I will not show that outside. Because we want to be peaceful, we want to be calm, but most of all, we want to be loving. Because we are not going to win them over with anger or hate. We are going to win them over with love. And so I think that is what Charlie Kirk did best. I think he did such a good job being very loving and listening to people and listening to their side. And so I do think that that's a wonderful thing. And so when somebody does get in your face someday, say you're out front of an abortion clinic and you're praying and they get in your face. So your heart may be racing. You don't need to show that at all. Just show love. And ask, why is that so important to you to be arguing with me about that, right? Why is that so important to you? You may find out that they were forced into an abortion years ago. You may find out somebody that didn't know get an abortion, they feel like they're defending that. You don't know what you're gonna find out, but if you listen, then you'll know how to approach it. Because you'll know where they're coming from. So I thought we would have some fun here today, and though I never usually say this to teenagers, I'd like you to get in my face. I would like you to get in my face and just challenge me with some pro-choice arguments. I gave a bunch on index cards to Mrs. Tellis. She's gonna start off with the first question. And she's gonna go around each of you, and if you don't have a question, she's gonna hand you a card so you have a question. But if you have a question, do your own question, okay? All right. Mrs. Tellis, challenge me.
I don't know what we're doing here really, because a woman gets pregnant, it's just a couple of cells. There's really not much there, you can't even see it, can't feel it. You know, I don't even know what you're talking about.
Okay, so when a baby is born, is that, you know, is that a human life?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go back. Let's go back. What about a baby at 7 months? Is that a human life?
That's a human life.
Okay. Go back a little bit more. Here's a baby at 26 weeks. Is that a human life?
Sure, yeah. That's okay, they call themselves, yeah,
Don't do that.
it will be.
Here's a baby at 20 weeks. Is this a human life?
Yes.
All right. But abortions are not that unusual to abortion, 4.5, 5 months.
Okay, well, that before 3 months, maybe before 12 weeks, 3 months.
Okay, let's go back to 17, 16 weeks ultrasounds. There's a baby's face close up at 16 weeks. There's 14 weeks, that's just 1 week after the first trimester. That looks like a baby to me. Here's a baby at 12 weeks. Now, it is hard to see through the sack there. But at this point, when you get to the baby that well, he's already developing sleep patterns, exercising his muscles. He can make a tight fist, he has facial expressions, and every single organ you have now, that baby had at 12 weeks. Even a week earlier, that baby had it. All those people, because they don't look like cells, they don't look like animals, they look like human beings. Here's a baby at 11 weeks. So just stop me, I'm gonna go backwards and stop me when that is not a real baby. There's a baby's feet at 10 weeks. A baby at 10 weeks. Depending on the mother, because of that placenta and umbilical cord. This baby can swim, swallow, even peel. Here's a baby at 9 weeks. You can see all the little ribs, the fingers, everything's already there. There's a baby at 8 weeks. That's the point when they start to call the baby a fetus. Prior to this, the baby is called an embryo. Here's a baby at 7 weeks. 6.5. And even 6 weeks. This is common age when babies are aborted. 6 weeks is a very common age. To me, I believe it's life. But even in the beginning of life, even in the beginning, it's a baby. But where's your cutoff? Where would your cutoff?
Well, you turned me, so I'm in.
All right. So let's
All
go.
right, who wants to be next?
If you are sick but going to die, shouldn't they be aborted to save the mother of the child from pain?
That is a really good question. I like that question because so many people have called me. Because I have this ministry of helping people through pregnancy loss, and they're like, call me and they'll say, I found out my baby has a sickness, I don't want him to suffer, so I'm gonna abort the baby and I need your help with support and casket and stuff. And I'm like, I talked to them and I was like, well, say that baby is good. That baby's 2 years old and you find out it has a fatal problem. Do you try and treasure every single day with that baby? Or do you try and hurry up and let it die sooner? No, of course. You treasure every single day with that baby. And this is your opportunity to treasure that time with that baby. And if somebody pushes a woman into doing that, first of all, death is painful. It doesn't matter whether it happens one way or another, it's painful, but the way that happens with abortion, it's extremely painful, it's not giving anything physical pain, but it's extremely painful. And so, if that baby was outside the womb and it is really sick, they can give that baby some type of painkiller as it dies. And the mother and the baby, they can see each other, they can look at each other's faces, and they can love on each other until that baby dies, instead of rushing that death, because it's not gonna take any pain away from that mom, and it's not gonna take any pain away from that baby. It's just rushing the death.
John, approaches to the legal to babies with medical problems.
With medical problems, and medical problems are very diverse. So that's not even a baby who's gonna die, right? That's a baby who's just got some type of sickness. Maybe something is to develop properly, and a lot of babies are born with holes in their heart. Just because just because the baby has something wrong with them, which they there are genetic diet. Over 90% of them are now aborted. And she says, and if we say do that in our society, and we act like some people, because they have an extra chromosome, don't deserve life. I mean, if we say that in the womb, that's gonna expand to outside of it. And I think that could become a serious problem. Thank you for your question.
I wasn't planning on this to happen, and it's not right for me to bring a baby into this world that I can.
Well, babies are a consequence of sex. And so, knowing that, every person who has sex is aware of that. And so it's really hard situation, right? I understand it's difficult. But you don't have to feed that baby someday. There are 2 million couples waiting to adopt every single year. 2 million couples, and there are about 1 million abortions every year. So even all the abortions didn't happen. There would be more couples waiting to adopt than there would be children available to adopt. Currently, there's only about 18,000 babies that are available for adoption. Even the foster care system only has 117,000 children that are adoptable. None of those needs was not even being met. So there will be someone who will love your child if you could just offer up carrying this child for a few months.
So imagine,
You know, take them all. Come on, here, because they want to get out there. Okay.
so imagine this. You wake up one morning, you're in a hospital. You're covered in tubes, and looking over, you see that all these tubes lead to a person in the bed next to you. And the doctor comes in and informs you that this is a famous violinist who has some terminal issue. But if he stays hooked up to you for 9 months, you'll be healed. And all these fans of the violins decided that it is worth your 9 months of your time to lay there in bed next to him so that he will recover.
I'm the only blood type that can beat, or is there somebody else?
You're the only person. You're stuck. You're the only person. You're stuck with this violence. So now if you take that,
He's a nice thing. Okay.
so take that now to a wolf, to the heart. Take that to pregnancy.
Right.
So there was a woman who was raped. She is now stuck for 9 months with this child inside her. She has no way, she might not be able to afford this child. And yes, while there are many people in the foster system, it's difficult for her to get her child into that system. She has to go through 9 months of shame, embarrassment, potential health problems, all because of this. So why should we not allow abortion in this instance?
Okay. So in the case of rape, I will say, first of all, less than 1% of these situations are rape, but they still are a significant amount because 1% is a lot of people, right? Out of a million. So it has been shown that it is psychologically better for a woman to carry the baby to term than to abort the baby. The physiological action of abortion is very forceful to a woman in the same area that she was sexually assaulted. And it is really living that type of situation. So, and for a baby who has been conceived through sexual assault, like say someone in your friend group who found out they actually were conceived through sexual assault, should we be able to kill them now because they're outside the womb? So if we do not want to discriminate against someone because of their place of residence, that place of residence being the womb, we would not want to discriminate against them, whether they were in the womb or out of the womb, and they should have a right to life. And okay, answer to your question?
Definitely.
Okay. On the side note, while we get to the next person, I have a friend who was date raped. And she, back in those days, it was in the 70s, she was sent away, she delivered that baby. And they literally took the baby from her in the hospital. That's what her parents had arranged for. And 24 years later, her daughter calls her up and says, "Thank you for the gift of life. I went to a family who had kids, they couldn't have any kids, they adopted me, and then they ended up having more. I had a wonderful family, I had a wonderful life. Thank you for having me." And when her daughter called her and told her all that, she said, "I finally see how God brought good out of a bad situation. Where if she has to have the abortion, she would have never saw good come out of that bad situation."
Who's next? Do you wanna go up and really get in close?
Oh, this is gonna be a good one. This is my daughter, for anybody who doesn't know. Yes, sister. Very young.
Pro-life men should not be able to tell women what to do.
Oh. Thank you. Yeah. Actually, I've been in the pro-life movement for years, and there's probably 10 to 1 female citizens. There are very few males that are very active in the pro-life movement. I think because of that same thing that people address. There are so many women that are pro-life that it is not men telling women what to do. It's a matter of if a human life, is it a human life in the womb? If it is human life, should it be defended? It is not a male versus female thing. And matter of fact, many women who go into abortion clinics go in there because their boyfriends threaten to throw them out, get rid of them as a girlfriend. And there's a lot of problems in matter, and even more so than that, what's happening lately, because of the abortion pill, men are thinking that they're women, pretending they're women, taking the abortion pill and actually putting it, they're dosing their girlfriends or wives, so these babies. And so it actually is happening the other way. I see the men that I see in the pro-life movement, they stand out there, they defend women's rights, they will help them in situations if they're not playing. I only see total help in that situation as opposed to the other side.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right, guys, be brave. You gonna go there? May as well.
So if a woman is met God, she gives birth to a baby, why should we not have an abortion? So there's that.
Okay, so if a woman's life is truly in danger, it is not beneficial necessarily to her. Because most of the time when a woman's life is in danger, it's at the end, the second half of pregnancy, right? And so in that situation, it isn't going to benefit her to have her baby taken out in pieces. If her life is in danger, and she's carried that baby that far along, it's most likely that she really wanted that baby. And to not be able to see her baby, mourn for her baby, say goodbye to her baby, it will be awful. So what is the best situation then is to actually induce labor for the woman or do a C-section. Take the baby out of the mom if the life is really in danger, try to save the baby's life, and if they can't, at least that mother and baby can dwell on each other until that baby passes. And that is not abortion because it's not the intentional killing of that child.
Okay, if a child is not wanted, it will be child abuse.
Oh, that's a really good question. But I will tell you that that's not really true. And, I lost my card, okay. That's okay, that's okay. I do write it down. Might have it on my slides. Hold on just a second. Child abuse, let's hit that. In 1973, there were 167,000 cases of child abuse in this country. The year Roe versus Wade happened. In 1987, it increased to 785,000. In the year 2000, it's almost 2 million cases of child abuse. And so now that we have legalized abortion, child abuse has actually increased. Because if you can kill your child in the womb, why can't you hurt your child outside? The statistics have shown the exact opposite. Yes. It could be. That's a really, really good point. Because is it, oh gosh, statistics. Is it correlation, right, or causation? And we don't know the answers to that. We don't know. That's a really good challenge. Excellent. Hi, what you got?
Restricting abortion is unfair to poor and minorities. Or is
Okay.
it?
Is it unfair? So, Margaret Sanger actually was the proposed starter of Planned Parenthood and the starter of abortion in this country, and she fought to have abortion facilities in areas with the poor minorities, because she called them, the, the, like, dysgenic stuff. She said she wanted Blacks, Southern Europeans, and Jews to be sterilized or segregated. And if they were, if they did become pregnant, she wanted them to have abortion. So actually, abortion was originally brought in and happening with Planned Parenthood to get rid of those people. So when the opposite is happening, right? The opposite is what pro-lifers would want. They're actually saying, we support you as a minority. We support you, whether you're Black, Southern European, Jew, we are poor. It doesn't matter. We want to help you through this pregnancy and afterwards, because we think that all life is sacred. Thank you.
Brian? You game? I see you want to say that anything to it. Do you have a question? Yeah.
Or Brian.
Doesn't abortion prevent overpopulation?
That is an excellent question. Because there would be like 1 million more people every single year, right? But the world really isn't overpopulated. If you took the entire population of the whole world, put 4 people in a house with a quarter-acre lot. Like, so there's 4 people in each house and they have, each one is a quarter acre. You could fit the entire population of the world in the state of Texas and have the rest of the world, the plains, and grow food. So overpopulation is actually not true, but a lot of the very, very rich in society have bought into the overpopulation myth. And because of that, they're giving a lot of money towards abortion, towards abortion candidates, so that there will be less people, because they want to keep their money, because they're the ultra rich. They don't want to have their money spent on these children, which they think are not good.
Thank you for answering my question.
Thank you, Brian. Yes.
Where did you get that? So it's going to take more people saying.
Is it called the Population Institute? Was that? Let me look it up again and I'll let you know. If there's an actual something population. Can't think what it's called. Sharon, you got a question?
Yeah, could you talk more about intentional versus unintentional destruction of human life? When you answered the question before, I remembered like a friend who had an ectopic pregnancy, you could talk about that, and just when like when there is a medical reason that that an intervention can be done that would possibly or definitely result in the death of the child.
Yeah, it's actually not a whole lot different than when the baby is further along, and I say you take the baby out, if they can survive, they survive. The same is true with an ectopic pregnancy. That baby, really, we know that baby can't survive. There's nothing that we're gonna do, but you don't intentionally kill the child. You take the baby out of the mother so that the tube does not burst, but you don't intentionally kill the child. So it's a lot about the intention there in that situation. Can I answer that one okay?
Can that be implanted? Can that ever be implanted, like put in the uterus? Just, do they ever do that?
I think if it never happened to me, I would ask for that, but you could very, very well get an infection. Because by 10 weeks, that baby has a really good placenta. And if that placenta, if you get placenta abruptions, then the baby's not gonna survive. But if they caught it very, very early, there's a possibility that that placenta could move, but it has never been proven yet. Let's see.
Yeah, I'll see from there.
All right.
Should an abortion be legal for babies with disabilities?
Oh, we have that one already. This, did you ask that one? Yeah, for babies with disabilities, once again, if a baby has Down syndrome, which a lot of people would be considering a disability, is it, if we wouldn't kill them inside the room, we should kill them outside. Outside the room, we should kill them inside. Yes.
Every woman should have the right to show their body, her body, her choice.
Okay, so I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this, but the my body, my choice thing drives me nuts. And actually, I was outside Planned Parenthood parade one time and there were guys out there saying my body, my choice, so it was period. But the my body, my choice thing is, it is your body. And you should have a right to know what you're gonna do with your body, but you don't have a right to do anything with the child's body. The child. So picture this, you are out to sea. You're out and your boat breaks down. And you have your baby with you. And you're just like, he's hungry, he's crying, I can't stand it. It's just driving me nuts. You can't drop your child off the side of the boat and let him die. In the same way. So because you want your body to free of the noise of hearing that crying baby, right? Like, you can't do that. You can't kill that child or your bodily autonomy. In the same situation, you can't kill a baby or your bodily autonomy because it's killing another human being. It doesn't make sense. But what I feel is that abortion is very evil in that instead of saying my body, my choice, it's the reverse order of what our Lord said, is that I give my body for you. My body for you. And if we want to act like Jesus, then we should be giving our body for our child. It's that up that my body, my choice to have. It's that, I give my life for you. Any more? We have one of the more questions? Oh, there we go. There.
Hello, Donna.
Oh,
What would you say to the argument of pro-lifers don't really care about babies after they're born? They are not pro-life, they're just pro-birth.
okay, so this one just bugs the heck out of me. And because I work, volunteered at a pregnancy center for over 20 years. And I've seen these women who have, they give so much money for diapers and formula. And these women, they mentor these women who are, planning pregnancies. You don't see that on the other side. I actually had someone who actually I knew in high school, he got on and he said this exact same thing. And he said to me, he said in general, he said, pro-lifers are only pro-birth. And I said, that's not true. Pregnancy centers are there. They have parenting classes, they have diapers, they have formula, they have mentorship programs. That is not true. They're just pro-birth. And he was just really challenging me. He's like, well, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are these kids going to foster system? Like, are you going to take care of them? Yeah, I was a foster parent. Yeah, well, and he just kept going on. He kind of was like, okay, you're putting two shoes. And I'm like, it's not just me. It's all pro-lifers that are trying to make a difference. Everybody makes a difference in their own way. You're just assuming we're that way.
I don't know, I'm not very convinced. I have a friend that, she's in her 20s and she's had 2 abortions. She's in school, she wants to have a life, she's got a career that she's working really hard for. She's totally fine. She's totally fine. She lives her life, does her thing. She's, dates people and she's got a boyfriend right now. I think someday she'll be married, but she's living really well and things are great for her. She could never have brought a baby into that life. In her life, she would never get her education. She wouldn't be able to have a good career. And she's so vibrant and healthy and a great woman. And so I don't see what the problem is. I don't see what the big deal is.
So I had 2 children before I went back. I had my associate degree, went back, got my bachelor's degree. And I would place those 2 children in the daycare at the college. There's no college in daycare. I was able to place my child in the daycare at college. I didn't, take my child's life, and then I became pregnant with my last one. I'm not, the one right after I graduated, but it does make a difference. It is a big deal, because I personally have experienced loss 3 times. And I can tell you that I think of my babies every single day. She thinks of her babies, and she pushes it down, and she pushes it down, and one day it's gonna come up. I know people who get abortions, and they like, ah, cool, everything's fine, everything's good. They have a couple beers in them, they're crying, they're weeping, I'm so sorry I had abortions. I'm, and they think they're going to hell, they can't even get any help. But our Lord is willing to forgive all of us for all of our sins, including the sin of abortion. And I hope she gets the help that she needs, so she can totally go. Yes.
So earlier you said,
Yes.
Could you repeat the question, please?
so why don't I just sleep around for whoever I want? This could happen.
You know what? I do, this is an interesting thing that you're saying. Babies are something that come out from people sleeping around. All of us walk around with our sins. We all walk around and we all sin. Nobody knows it. Doesn't go into confession or whatever. Nobody knows our sins. The woman who's pregnant, who carries that baby out of wedlock, she publicly is saying, I let God bring good out of my sin. I let God do it. And I think that's so beautiful. I don't know if I answered that question correctly.
No, we're not sitting around.
But no, we're not sleeping around. So,
I do actually have a question.
well, good. Good.
So prior to 1973, before abortion was made legal, 5,000 to 10,000 women a year were dying due to the fact that abortion wasn't legal. They could not get legal abortions that were medically safe. So what is your response to that?
Okay, prior to 1973, 90% of abortions were still done in doctor's offices. They weren't that all those backroom coat hanger things that they were saying. 90% were done in doctor's offices. And the 5,000 to 10,000 people a year, that is a lie. It was said by Bernard Nathanson. He was an abortionist. He had a conversion, and he said he made up that number because since he's saying these are back alley abortions, there's no way to disprove that number. There were more women who died from abortions prior to the 1920s because there was not any form of antibiotics prior to that time. But after antibiotics were created, then let's see, the year before Roe versus Wade, 39 women died from illegal abortions and 25 women died from legal abortions. It's a very, very close number. And so, because remember, some states had legal, some states did not. But since Roe versus Wade, we know that well over 200 women have died from legal abortion. And it's probably way higher than that because they probably say it affects the uterus, it's blood loss, not the word abortion. So, not having abortion legal has not caused more deaths. And we can prove that because since Dobbs, we haven't had a lot of, if there was a case where somebody died having an illegal abortion in a state where it was illegal, it would be all over the news because it was so much.
So how do you know that he actually made the number and then just say that to make his side look good after he converted?
Actually, there's a columnist, I can't remember her name, but she said specifically that number was, she also was a pro-choice columnist, said that number was made up, but she's the one actually that I read her column, and that's how I found out that actually, because I never heard about, yes, a lot of women were dying before antibiotics. I apologize, but I don't remember that columnist's name, but she researched it, she was a pro-choice columnist, who said, yes, a lot of women were dying, but it was prior to the antibiotics.
Okay, thank you.
Donna. In the Constitution, we have the right to liberty and the pursuit of happiness. Abortion laws prevent our pursuit to happiness, so they should be illegal.
So that's actually the liberty and the pursuit of happiness, it's life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and that's not in the Constitution, it's actually the Declaration of Independence. That, we get life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, and those were written in that order on purpose. Because life always is above liberty, which is always above the pursuit of happiness. So for instance, if your boss said he won't give you a raise, you can't take away his freedom. Because pursuit of happiness is below liberty. And if someone would say, would take your life because you limited their liberty, that is gonna be murder, right? Because you can't do that. Like, you can defend yourself because it's life versus life, but you can't kill someone for liberty, because all of our laws are based upon life is above liberty, which is above the pursuit of happiness. And it was written that way on purpose. Yes. Sorry.
So, in the revolution ago, we wanted a liberty, so we went and we fought and we killed a whole bunch of, British. Isn't that out of the order of Declaration of Independence?
I'm not a good person to speak on war. Diana, that's your grade.
Let me understand what you're saying, so you're asking that our pursuit of happiness, or whether we were doing wrong things by going to war? That's right, and we got the right to do that. We didn't have a declaration yet at that point, but we were defending our freedoms. And that spawned a free country, it spawned the Declaration of Independence. Going to war, as long as it's justified, is certainly within the realm of what we're allowed to do morally. That's, I'm starting to sweat, so, oh, Mrs. Schneider, the government teachers here.
The Declaration of Independence was written after 13 years or 11 years of trying to work out with Great Britain. Trying to figure out, trying to, say, you know, these things are, abuses that we find by the king, by the parliament, by the judges. And so they tried for 13 years to, I guess, get it peacefully done. They wanted representation there, and they representation, and they had taxation. They had abuses by the judges. They were taking away the colonists' right to self-government, which is what they had been doing for years. They would take them away and say, in Massachusetts, that you could no longer have your parliament, your representation, and we're putting in our proxy governor from the king, and he's gonna do whatever the king said. So, we had 13 years of trying to end that peacefully. After 13 years, that's kind of what started everything. It was always the liberty first, but if you've got somebody who's going after you and wanting to kill you, you do have the right to defend too. So I think in a war situation, yes, you're killing, but would they kill you? They had the opportunity as well. You got the British, you got soldiers, you have the Hessians, all being paid. So, you know, it is also, it's also a defense in a way. They're not only just defending themselves and their life, but they're also defending their liberty, their way of life, their self-government that they've had for years here, and the king is telling them something different. Does that make sense? Freedom is worth fighting for.
Feminists have fought very hard and sacrificed almost everything for legalized abortion in this country. And now we're swinging solidarity.
Okay, I love this question because I am a member of Feminists for Life. And I have pages upon pages of our feminist foremothers and their quotes that they were pro-life. They called it child murder, they called it a number of things. I just had so many pages of all these feminists who, who were absolutely, Susan B. Anthony, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, Alice Paul, who wrote the Equal Rights Amendment, who now they tried to put abortion in that. They were all pro-life, all these women were pro-life, so these two guys met with the feminist organizations in New York City. And they convinced them that abortion should be legal because it would help women. But actually, what it does, it was meant to convince these women that, it actually perpetuates a male dominant society. Because if you say a woman needs to have an abortion, you're saying that a pregnant woman is not equal to a non-pregnant woman. Or that any woman, by the fact that she can become pregnant itself, it is not equal to a man. And so abortion actually doesn't free us as women, but instead, it actually perpetuates the male dominated society, and it's not really a feminist ideal. It's just the confused feminist of today. Yes,
So, being a mother is very, very hard, and abortion is a quick and easy option, so I think you want to go there at all, I can't, wouldn't choose that.
okay, abortion is painful. That's why a lot of times they will try to do a little extra money to not have the pain, but women aren't going to talk about it, right? So a lot of things that we're told not to talk about, but abortion is very, very painful. Over 90% of the time, the child does not get any type of seizure, so it's very painful on the child. I mean, they're going to decide if a woman for the vacuum is truly unconscious, trying to get a normal vacuum to come. That is not going to feel good. And that's what most abortions are. In the first trimester is a vacuum suction abortion. 29% times it's trying to get a normal vacuum. That's not comfortable. Women do feel pain, but the pain that I have, it's the pain that they have lost a child. And a woman who's lost a child has lost a child no less than me, who have lost 3 of my children. The woman who's lost a child to abortion has lost a child no less than me. Her child was just as valuable as mine. And she has pain like I do. But I, because of society, I am somewhat free to talk about my pain. She has to suppress her pain herself. It is much more emotional pain than it is. But it's
And then you, so.
Anybody else? I have, please.
and
I'm gonna try to word this right, but basically we're saying that you don't want it to be a male dominant society or something. So why would we let men like have a vote on abortion if they can't even get abortions?
why should men have a vote on abortion?
Yeah.
And
If they can't even have abortion, we're supposed to have women's rights and all, and like, yeah.
that's a really good question. Well, I just don't feel you can take away a person's right to vote because of their gender. I just don't feel like you can take away something.
But like, it doesn't even affect them.
And they don't vote directly on it. If we put it a Democratic, Republican, right, I'm saying that. So we vote on the quarter vote on. And since most of the people in Congress are men, pretty much are voting.
Right, so how is that fair to women when there's probably more men in the world?
So more men are born, which is just an interesting fun fact, more men are born to this world, but less men are in this world. There's more women in the world than men die are over.
Okay.
So wait a minute, but doesn't the men have some kind of like, or station have accountability, but they're their child.
Right. So it's totally not fair. Okay, I have a cousin whose girlfriend had an abortion, and he begged her not to have an abortion. His father actually offered to pay for the child, go to 18, to give the girl a house and everything else like that. And she didn't care. She went ahead and had an abortion. He had absolutely no choice in the matter. And he's a father. So should men bear the responsibility? 110%. But they also should be able to have some type of choice. Should a woman be able to have an abortion without the father even having a choice in that situation? That's horrible. He will warn his son the rest of his life.
So what if the guy doesn't wanna help at all?
Well, then financially, he still is responsible. Financially, he is still responsible for that child if she carries that baby to term. Legally, he is responsible.
Thank you.
My call. Yes.
It's me. Well, yeah. So the baby's a parasite mother, so shouldn't she be able to get rid of it?
So parasite, that's really interesting. So a parasite, is something, you know, that you depend on, like it depend on you to grow, right? The baby depends on you to grow, so I can see how you could come to that conclusion.
Yeah.
But babies are still dependent if they're born. They still aren't independent. You still aren't independent. You still living with your mom. Yeah, you're still independent. You're still independent.
Excellent.
Anybody else?
Great.
We did great.
I'll finish with talk a little bit about the ministry. Okay, because you said that, so we run Heaven's Gate Ministries, my husband Jim and I, and, we serve over 2,000 families a year. People who, suffer any type of pregnancy loss, miscarriage, all the way through, stillbirth, they're only to death. We help prepare them for the birth of their child, whether it's a miscarriage or stillbirth at the hospital or early miscarriage at the hospital. If it's a baby with a 4 prenatal diagnosis, some middle minutes after birth, you help them through that. And then we get free support services. It doesn't matter how long the free support years ago, we will still get free. Also, part of our ministries, we provide caskets and urns to promote proper dignity of these patients for me. And so I just wanted to tell you a little bit about everything. And one of the things I didn't actually touch on that, was brought up was about a baby who being sick. I would have given any two typical days with my son. And so if you would end the life of your child prior to its actual death, what mom would give to have your days with their child? Most of the time, when I hear that somebody's ending the life of their child, it's because the doctor has convinced them that it's best for them, and they will have less pain. But the truth is, you will never have less pain. You lose a child. And what does that say to our other children when they get sick? You got sick. I had a sick baby, so I aborted it. You're sick now. Wouldn't that make you feel? It's just not good for them. It's not good for them. It just changes when the pain happens. It doesn't change the pain of losing a child. And women deserve better, and men deserve better than abortion. We deserve human life, the children that God gave us, the joy that comes with that. And so, there's so many women, there's actually more women who lose babies due to miscarriage and stillbirth than actually babies that are older. All these women that lose babies are sorrowful, they miss their kids. And I would make the same exact thing is true about the woman who's had abortion. She will always miss her child. We don't want to judge her. We don't want to think poorly of her. We all sin, we all made mistakes in life. And that is something that we all have to live with. But what we want to let her know is there is healing. There is healing through Jesus. And that there is no sin that is greater than this. Thank you.
That was really great, it was great, that was very informative. I think something I had to keep in mind when you're talking about, women who are considering abortion, like, if I didn't, it was common. An undefined pregnancy, I know a woman who had like 3 children, and she was very busy, they were struggling with money. Somebody's, one of their adult parents was dying, and she ended up pregnant, and she was distressed. Like, she told me, she was a very devout woman who loved her family. And she said one day she looked at the stairs and thought, I just get the stairs here and slip down the stairs. We're all done here and this is over. Like, that's how bad it can be. Even the people who would presumably be healthy in healthy marriages and healthy situations. So the anxiety is high, decisions that are made are very regrettable. Now, I know we can't all be in on our feet. I know we want to be. A couple of things. First off, I really did want kids to be able to learn, across the board, how to debate. Watching Charlie Kirk, watching you tonight is a way to defend our worldview, presumably in this crowd, or conservative worldview, that's what Charlie Kirk was doing. Do you have ideas on how techniques, you should keep yourself calm, but other techniques that apply to life, that would apply if somebody said, look, I think socialism is a really great idea. And leave it and find out those concepts, we'll talk about that next semester, but what, I know you don't have all the information, you can't put it all, but, like, what techniques are there out that they should be maybe employing, and thinking about their civic, you better do.
Okay, read everyone with a smile. You didn't notice when everybody asked a question, I make sure I read that with a smile. Greet everyone with a smile. Share the love of Christ, but tell the truth. The truth will set you free. All this information I gave you was true, that I looked up over the years. It's true. No matter what subject it is, if you always have to tell the truth. If you are caught in the tiniest little lie, then nothing you say will be believable. And it's so important that you tell the truth. And tell the truth about, like, your question. I did not know the answer, and I said I didn't know it. And I sent you to Diana. If you don't know the answer, say you don't know it. If someone stumps you, say they stumped you. It's okay. Charlie Kirk did it. It's okay to be stumped. It's okay if you don't know the answer, but offer to come back to them with the answer. That's just really important.
Okay, very good. Good. Thank you very much. So we're doing enough time for us to, I had envisioned, okay, we will do other issues. So I went ahead and, painstakingly went through and listened to some, not that it is painful to listen to Charlie Kirk is great, but I listened to videos and tried to grab some of his points that he makes about issues. I ended up with, issues that he proved me wrong against, gun rights, immigration, and climate change, and socialism, were things that Charlie Kirk talked about. And I gathered up a few of the points that he was making online and posts that I found, and that will help you formulate your opinions. Factoring in how Donna has now just taught you how to debate and how to defend when people come at you. So everybody can, please take one. I'd like to see us next semester address, probably socialism first, or whatever everybody wants to do first, but we definitely should focus in on these, and talk more about, what socialism means, and gun rights, for example, they're big, and things, the culture is, it's not good. And you guys need to know, you need to know how to defend and defend freedom. There is more Charlie Kirk shirts. They're getting back. There's a large there I saw. I don't know how many there are. There's a few extra larges. I don't know how we have so many large shirts, but be sure to grab one. If you don't already have one, if you're extra large, then there's grab one.
Yes. In both up, that's actually where I have questions from.
Okay. And watch your email. I will go ahead and make sure you get the link with some of the big any information that Donna talked about today. And if you have not signed your name, please do so. And do it again if you've already done it. Some of the email addresses that are very hard time reading. So I wouldn't mind having them one more time. That's it. Thanks so much, and we will see you next year.